call the Board of Canvassers
Your
to
microphone on.
I
order.
don't know how you turn this one on.
There's no light. There we go.
Let's call order, and now we'll turn it over to David Benson to present the certification of the Cache County primary election for 2024.
Thank you, Board. I'm David Benson, the Cache County Clerk and Auditor, and we're here to certify the 2024 Democratic primary presidential election that just happened on March 5th. With me, I have our election supervisor, Michelle Stanger, and one of our deputy clerks, Lachelle Enright. We also must give credit to all of our clerk and election staff who helped out, including Lola Bott, Naomi Clark, Kenda Smith, Jennifer Zhang, and seasonal and other workers as well. Did I forget anyone? Okay. So in front of you, Mr. Chair, you should have this form, which is the certification of the election. That was part of your packet as well. And after the vote has been held, I'll ask each of those members present to sign that certification. So just wanted to point that out at the beginning. This election was pretty straightforward, rather simple. It was very limited in that it was simply the one office was on the ballot for the Democrat primary presidential election. So in many ways, it was quite simple and straightforward. So I'll just go through the packet that was sent to you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to raise them as we go. Or if you prefer, you can hold them to the end. The next page in your packet was the Canvass audit report. It was 2 pages. I included this next because it was required to be performed before the Canvass, and we successfully completed this last Friday. So we reviewed 3 batches, a total of 64 ballots for both. We inspected both the digital version and the paper version to make sure that they were congruous. We also double-checked and audited the signatures, and that was all successful. If you have any questions about that, I'll be happy to answer those.
Is that, like, I have a question on page 3, the next page.
Oh, okay.
I'll wait till you get there.
Oh, we're there now. The next 2 pages, page 3 and 4, these are a summary of the results themselves from the election. The first page shows that we had, I'll just point out some significant statistics here. We had just over 6,000 registered Democratic voters in the election. Of those, we counted 1,764 ballots, and 8 of which were blank, and for a total turnout of 29.3%. And then on the next page, you'll see the results of that election, where Joseph Biden received 1,467 votes, and the other 4, or about just under 84% of the vote, and then the other 4 candidates received those totals below. So Sandy, what was your question?
On page 3, where there's the number of ballots counted and then number of ballot histories, or vote histories, will you explain that, what that means
apologize.
and why they're different?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Whenever we have, the number of ballots counted are the number of ballots that we actually went through our tabulation machines and received votes. Ideally, all 1,764 of those people would also receive voter credit. In this situation, and this is not uncommon, there were 7 voters who did not receive voter credit.
What does that mean?
That means that even though their vote was counted, we don't have a history of them voting in this specific election. This happens from time to time. We think that it happened this time because of some jamming in the mail ballot verifier machine, which means that as ballots are being processed, some of them, this is not counted, this is just verifying the signatures, that sometimes 2 or 3 of those ballots will bunch up or jam, and meaning that an imprint will be printed on 1 of those 3 or 2 of those 3. Sometimes the imprint is a little skewed, and so it makes it so that we can't read that and then enter that voter credit into our database.
So does that mean their vote isn't counted?
Not at all. Their vote is still counted. It's just that we don't have the history of them counting there. So they would have voted, whoever they selected is still represented in that 1764 number. It's just that we don't have a history of them voting in this primary election.
Could it be somebody who just moved here and just barely registered to vote, or is it that's not what you're talking
No, not at all. It's simply a machine issue with the mail ballot verifier.
about? Okay.
And Sandy, if we needed to do a little bit better with the reconciliation, so we reconciled after every batch. In the next election, we'll reconcile every day. And that way we'll know on the day whether we're missing histories for those voters, and we will go back and we'll find those voters and make sure. When we got into the tabulation, we realized that we were 7 short, and short of going back and rescanning everything, we could go back and find them, so we felt like with 7 votes with less than 0.29%, it's not going to skew the election. We decided just to move it along and do better on the next election.
Okay, thank you.
And this is within the parameters. The requirements are that these two numbers closely match, which they obviously do.
Yeah.
So a question also, when you said you had 8 blank, is that 8 not marked or 8 not marked and not signed? What's a blank?
Just not marked.
Just not marked, but signed?
Yes, still signed.
Okay.
Turned in a ballot, I didn't vote.
Yeah, it's called an undervote. Just decided not to vote for anyone on the ticket for some reason.
Police write somebody in.
Yeah.
We did have some comments on some of the ballots, but, and that's typical as well. Okay, I'm moving on to the next page in the, thank you for that, Sandy. Moving on to the next page in the packet, it's this colorful sheet. And here we've got a lot more statistics, statistical breakdown of the election. And I'll just point out a few of those, and if you have any questions about others, I'll be happy to answer them. We had, again, you can see the 29.3% voter turnout at the top. We have the 1764 as the total number of ballots. And down below, you can see that we had 54 that came in past the postmark deadline and 5 provisional ballots.
What's a provisional ballot? Oh, sorry.
Provisional ballot is someone who wants to come and vote on the day of the election, did not receive a ballot most of the time because they were not registered to vote. And so we register them to vote right there on the spot. But we put their ballot in a special envelope to designate it as someone registering that very day. And we just need to make sure that they have all of the valid IDs and other certification, other documents to show that they're registered, or they can be registered.
Didn't you say there was 6,000 and then 1,200 responded? I'm trying to see how we get to 29%.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's 6,022 Democrat active voters. So if you divide that, if you take 1764 divided by 6,022,
That's what I'm working on.
that should be the 29 point. Okay.
I didn't see it was that high.
A little bit lower than what we saw last year, but this was simply a primary and just for with one candidate. Any other questions? Okay. The last 5 pages are our reconciliation documents. Again, very similar statistics, just in different format. On this page, you'll see that we have totals on how the ballots came in. We had 939 ballots come in by mail. We had 733 through ballot boxes, a total of 825. If you add that to our early voters, those who voted on election day, and so forth, for a total of that same 1764. On the next day is that same number broken down by dates that we processed those ballots. On the following page, again, are those same numbers broken down on the days that we processed those ballots, this time by batch. So you can see all of the batches. Next page is, again, very similar statistics, and though at the bottom of the second table, you'll see that we did replicate 3 ballots, and we also adjudicated 9.
Explain, replicated essentially means you had to do the ballot over because it was damaged somehow or something like that, but what is adjudicated?
We had two ballots that were ripped, that came in ripped, and then we had a ballot that came in, that they had messed up the timing mark, so we had to replicate it. And then the adjudicated ballots, so those are anything that was, as it went past through the tabulation machine, was kind of like, for instance, we had people that wrote uncommitted. They didn't vote for anybody, they had wrote uncommitted, and so the machine read that, and said, I don't understand that, Marlene. It pulled it up, and so there was 9 ballots, so we went through and physically looked at and said, this was the voter's intent, and made sure that it had tabulated.
Okay.
The machine couldn't determine voter intent, and so human eyes had to look at it.
Normal example, or a frequent example is somebody puts an X instead of
Instead of
filled
filling
in
in
the
the-
circle. The machine rejected it, but human eyes can clearly determine the intent of the voter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. And then finally, the last document is the same numbers detailed out. This just shows us how we received all of those different ballots by day.
And can I just point something out here? So in our last election, we didn't keep track of this information, which is one of the things that the Lieutenant Governor's office said you need to do a better job of. And I think we did a fabulous job of this.
Well done.
I'm pretty proud of that.
Well done.
So that's
Beat me to
it.
the punch on congratulating everybody, yes.
So that's everything. That concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any more questions that you might have.
Any other questions?
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
I guess we need to call for a motion to,
I move to certify the 2024 Cache County primary election.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? So, thank you. Canvas is complete.
Way to go.